Fellow Ugandans, wherever you're watching us from, you are welcome to yet another episode of the Checkmate 256. This is week 7. Whether you're watching us within the boundaries of Uganda or you are earning a coin wherever you're doing that, or on a business trip to see family out of the country, we want to thank you very much for choosing us as your number one source of the news that are happening in Uganda, where we dive deep into the stories that mattered and give you a deep analysis of what it might mean. Now, this week being week 7 of 2026, we'll break down some of the stories and also the bigger topics that have influenced some of the news that we are going to share. And to do that with me is the usual suspect, Nicholas, who is across me with the silver chess pieces. And welcome to have you. It's good to have you here.
Good to have you too, sir.
It's the most obvious move you can make, but good to have you. And I hope you had a very good week.
Yeah, the week was good. And the year started on a good note.
Any highlights?
Not many. Some are a little bit personal. We'll not bring them to broadcast. But on the society space, I think there's so much to look into that we're going to be getting into shortly.
It's getting quiet in the Pearl of Africa after the conclusion of all elections, with I think the last ballot casts being for the National Female Youth MP. That was done in Hoima, and there were some shocks with Diana losing.
There were no shocks.
Losing for people who are following what was just in the media, it looked like but on the ground things were a little bit different. That would be the conclusion of the electoral process, and we will tell you, as we will later do in the podcast, that the process of gazettement for the winners has already begun, and that will only mean two things: one, the people who will be getting ready to swear in, and the unsatisfied losers that will be lodging petitions, and the Gazette will be a trigger for that. Now, one of the stories that will be breaking to you, summary, is that we're going to talk about one of the things that made news mostly this week, and that is the debate on national dialogue. Nicholas will give you his 2 cents on that. We'll also take you through the evil and the comments that we have gotten from the state house visits and the opposition politics in Uganda. And specifically, we'll cast a spotlight on the story of Yusuf Nsibambi and the group that we saw visit the state house and what they got from there, and what it might mean in the terrain of our politics in Uganda for the next 5 years or even the years to come. We'll also talk about the state of the judiciary. Among the things that have made headlines this week and continue to do so, we'll tell you again the case backlog, the complaints Ugandans are facing, and all about one of the 3 arms of the government and how it is faring. We'll tell you about Uganda's labor export policy, with special focus on the rescue of 500 Ugandans that are stuck in Cambodia. We'll tell you how they got there and what the government is doing about it. And then finally, we will talk about the tale of mourning life and celebrating death, a trend that has come up and was discussed even by on the pulpit of the Minister for National Guidance, on how some people have been celebrating the passing on of people who have been serving in government. We'll tell you the 2 sides, why people celebrate and why some people think that's very un-African. We'll tell you also about the other notable mentions at the close of the show of the things that have made news in Uganda. But I think we can just dig right into the first story of the day. Nicholas, the debate on the national dialogue. To give some viewers a little bit of history, is this is not the first time that this is coming up. And almost every after-election cycle, the narrative that has been pushed is we need to move on from politics, from division, and engage into national dialogue. Of course, after the Museveni war and coming into power, we had the Truth and Reconciliation. Countries have that. And the process and the activities currently that have been done by the Interreligious Council of Uganda, those are the priests and clerics that have tried to bring people to say, can we do a reconciliation? People are very angry at one another. There are issues that we can let go of the past, the tribalism, everything that is dividing the country. The debate goes on and has been smeared by some critics that say that you cannot have dialogue, especially with the people in government who are not ready to cede anything. You have the president who has come up to say that call the dialogue, even if you call it at Kololo tomorrow, I will come and participate in the dialogue because we are ready to talk and drive a united nation. Now, Nicholas, on Thursday, the president issued a long statement and he was actually passing his condolences to the opposition. Who would actually be the most significant participants in what would be the national dialogue, representing the dissenting voices of the status quo? Is it a song that we sing to transition from election process and the injustices, or there is a deeper thing that we need to look into as far as a united Uganda is concerned?
Thank you, Harold, and good day, our viewers. I think, Harold, the question of dialogue, especially post-election, like you have said, is not new to Uganda. Every time an election happens, from nomination, from primaries, from candidates expressing interest, there is repression, there is a lot of force being used, there is brutality, and this in this kind of election to unprecedented levels. There are deaths that have happened. Society comes out of electioneering, and then now election frauds, where we've said it time and time again here on this podcast, where someone who is third is declared first. We have the melee that has happened in Masaka, where people are disenfranchising thousands of people in open day thuggery. So, honestly speaking, the country would use a reconciliation right about now, But the question for reconciliation to happen, or for dialogue to happen, let me use the word dialogue, the two parties, in this case, the aggressor and the ones that feel they have been aggrieved, should all be willing to come and sit on the round table. But when you check the mind of the president, and like you said, he issued a long writing on Thursday on his X, and in one of the statements that he makes, he gives a history of,
Yes, yeah.
He justifies the past elections, but he says that for this one, it reminds him of the election in
1995.
In 96.
96, yes.
When there was practically no opposition in Uganda. And then he says in one of the paragraphs that, so now there is practically no opposition in Uganda. And I think this is a narrative that he has chosen to drive forward.
The most disturbing one, talking about the opposition cheating elections.
Yes, so he says they stole 2 million votes, 2.1 million votes, 2.7 million votes in the past election. It's not true that Uganda had not voted Museveni in the last election. So he goes on. There is this thing that there's a new narrative that he has started to, I think, since his victory speech to then Kololo when he was there. There is this new narrative that he is continuing to push, that there's no opposition in Uganda. They had cheated in the previous elections. Everyone is now united because of PDM and whatever. But you see, hard questions are not being asked. If there's no opposition in Uganda, what were you doing brutalizing them before the elections? If there's no opposition in Uganda, why are thousands languishing in prison? Some of them are being given bail now. If there's no opposition in Uganda, why are you holding the new deputy presidents? All of them. If there's no opposition in Uganda, why are you looking for your main challenger in the election? If you have defeated someone, they have no power. They should just be able to enjoy their civil liberties.
We're fighting a ghost enemy.
But you see, for dialogue to take place, the president has to climb down on his high horse. But when I look at the things that he's trying to do, the things that he's doing, he is doing what in history we call a dictated peace. Now, a dictated peace happens every time.
We will have peace, but on my terms.
Yes. Every time society is defeated, others, empires or countries or kingdoms defeated the other people, they usually sign a treaty. When France wins the war of the First Coalition, I think that was in 1797, they signed a treaty called the Treaty of Campo Formio. Napoleon was then an up-and-coming officer in the French army. So that Treaty of Campo Formio, the dictated peace, would mean that they strip you of territory. They strip you because then continental Europe had come up to fight against the revolutionary France. Because when the revolution comes, it ends the French Empire, of Louis XVI. Yes. But remember, Europe is now being ruled by empires: the Austro-Hungarian, the Prussian, the English. Everywhere they are empires. So these emperors feel that if this
new revolution comes up,
will
start up things back at
republics.
Yes.
So they gather in what they call the first coalition. It's defeated. Treaty of Campo Formio is signed. But this is, you cede territory, you cede a lot of things, they make you pay war reparations. Second coalition comes up. Second coalition is also defeated.
Sure.
Another Treaty of Paris and Amiens is signed. That one ends. Third coalition comes up. Third coalition is defeated in the historical Battle of Austerlitz by Napoleon, I think in 1805 or 6 thereabouts. Fourth coalition comes up. These coalitions keep coming up because every time France or Napoleon defeats these people, he takes away territory. So continental France starts to expand and becomes the biggest empire and the biggest,
even after war.
Yes. So they make these people pay reparations. They do what? So you cannot sustain peace in circumstances like that. That's why after the conclusion of the First World War in 1919, First World War ends effectively in 1918. In 1919, they sit at Versailles in France and do what they call the Treaty of Versailles. That laid way for the League of Nations to start, and they did the final negotiations for the war. Now, the First World War was between two powers. There was what they used to call the Entente, and then the Central Powers. Now, when the Entente defeat the Central Powers, which was Germany, Austro-Hungary, and their allies, in the Treaty of Versailles in 1919, they put them in a lot of, they strip them of all territories. Some of the empires, by the way, like Ottoman, that's when they ended like 4, empires. They put what we call war reparations, that they pay for the cost of the whole war. Then they can't rearm. So many, policies that these people had to do. Now, that is why a few years later, 1919 and like 19...
You have another war again.
You have the rise of Nazism, because now...
They've seen the
nationalism,
cost of defeat.
Nationalism starts to come up. So it is out of that nationalism of people saying, first of all, we are living in disgrace, we are living defeated.
No national pride.
To pay for reparations, you have to overtax the people.
That's true.
You have to do all these things. So the people, Hitler is when you study history, is actually making of
First World War.
First World War and the treaty of how it was ended. That's how Hitler starts to come up. Before long, there is another war. So I feel like if the president does not want to come from the high seat, and this is what he's saying, and I'll say it plainly, clear here. For me, I don't mind about people who say that maybe, but you cannot say that there is no position in Uganda. When you are beating them, incarcerating them, maiming them, I saw a story, and I want to talk about it later when we start to talk about celebrating death, There was a story that went on NTV about 2 days ago about a lady. She was in Kayunga. She's a lady who works on the streets, these people who do chips. It's an evening like any other day. She's going to buy stock of her
next days.
Of that very days. She's going to buy potatoes to bring and peel and set up her stock. Except that the difference is that this day there is a rally, a democratic rally that is
part of an election process.
Part of an election process that has been flagged by the government. She is shot in 2 legs. Nobody has followed up that case. Nobody has had questions why she was. She has children. She is struggling. She's not getting anything. Her story, it was so sad.
And then we are talking about reconciliation.
It was so sad. And you're saying there's no opposition. You're talking about reconciliation. But reconciliation and dialogue comes from a place where there is actually, in that war, in that treaty of Versailles, because of everything they loaded on the Germans, because of being defeated, there's a clause now they called the war guilt. Like if you're guilty of war,
that's true.
You pay reparations, you do this, you do this. So that guilt sticks, that we are
You
guilty of.
just don't start a war and then you get away with it just
Yes.
because you're defeated. There are consequences.
So these people, that are saying, I don't think that they are ready for dialogue, because Museveni does not negotiate. And mark my words, I've not said NRM in what I have said.
Yes,
I have not
it's
said
just
the
Museveni.
government. I have been using the word Museveni because
my
does not negotiate with someone he does not respect. That's why as I conclude, actually people call them peace jokes of Nairobi in 85. When he comes, in the back of his mind, he knows, the man that we know, he knows that this is I am just wasting time here.
Not going to.
So they use that peace process, from about September, July to about December.
Sure.
They use that peace process. They are rearming, they are training, they are
Seeking coalitions. Yes, you read the book.
I think the peace collapsed. They had signed something about 17th December. These people were taking over government in January 25th, actually.
Yes, actually 25th.
What does that is in about a month? Yes,
less than a month.
Which means that they were using this. He knew that these Okeros, actually the peace process collapsed because the proposal had been to make Museveni vice president. He said, I can't serve under this. And later he would say that I was sitting across criminals. He described the people that he was sitting with as criminals.
So the same person comes and has described the current opposition as, most of them, I say it is called them terrorists. The deputy president for Uganda is charged with terrorism, actually. I think that's Mwanga Chivumbi. Have the deputy presidents of the main opposition party all in prison. You have the president on the run with claims of him being chased while the other part of government is saying he's not being chased. You have extrajudicial killings, and government has not come up to either own and dismiss and give an explanation. Recent history, you have a full documentary in November 2021, people who were killed. And these things keep piling up. We have people who were arrested in 2020 and 2021 that have never been produced in court. No bail, no charge, no hearing. You have people you have issues like the Badaro unsolved. You have a murmuring population that is talking about tribalism. You have a lagging question of transition and peaceful handover. You have a lot of a nation that has grappling things and people who, because of the suppression, cannot express themselves, but are boiling on the inside. And then you're talking about dialogue without the man in the high castle willing to cede a position or own up a responsibility. So my take on this is two. One, first, judge the process of national dialogue by people who are pushing for it. Two groups still. One, the Interreligious Council, which people have blamed for being pro-government and not seeing things in the eyes of the opposition and a normal Ugandan. And two, that is seeking relevance, knowing that the place of the church and and of course the mosque at that place was that it had lost its place in national politics. But at this time, the only way you will be relevant is if you're facilitating this. People, of course, are claiming that, I will give an example. I think it's been a trend that every time an Anglican bishop is to be consecrated, the president, if he can't be present, has been giving them a car.
Even if he's present.
Yes, even if he's present. He wants to be present, but where he can't, he sends a representative and then they deliver a vehicle. You've seen the visits of national breakfast, state house prayers and stuff, saying that these are the people that are leaning towards the person that people have complaints about. The second group pushing for dialogues are what people have described as the victims of democracy as is in Uganda, people who have lost the elections. And for them, dialogue is a ploy to gain relevance and get access to a meal card. That's the other way to look at it. But the other angle for national dialogue is us viewing it in a way that it is a fallacy as far as knowing that there will not be ceding of any position. There will not be any concession of mistake from the attitude that has been displayed by the president and people in power. And over, if you're saying there's no opposition, the next day you're calling them terrorists, then you say they cheated your votes, then you're boasting that you're growing in strength, then you are calling, you are on a power control scheme as opposed to a nation unifying goal, at least for the next 5 years. So it turns out to be more of something they are cooking, and I've just tried to break down who is cooking
But
it.
you see, I think the president has this narrative he's trying to push. I think the psychology is called denial. Yeah, of let me totally deny, because but you see, you cannot
Deny,
the thing
deny,
on the
deny.
ground. There's a thing they say that ground
Really
different.
Really different.
Qua ground things are different. Yeah, so you cannot say that there is no. So that is actually, like you said, someone doesn't want to take responsibility, because you see, to come to dialogue, you have to say, I made this mistake, I also made this mistake, then we come to the table. But if someone is still sitting on a high horse saying, I did not make any mistake, yeah, and what does that do, Harold? The first signs that dialogue and national introspection, yeah, should be prioritized at such a time as now.
That's true.
Is this thing that I know we are supposed to talk about it later, but every time an army officer dies or a politician, something happens, the joy,
The streets are full of
the celebration you
at
see
least
on
the
social media
streets.
everywhere, people are saying good riddance. Finally, we have that should be a sign that this country is.
People are boiling.
We are walking
They
on
are
needles.
internal volcanoes.
We're walking on needles because people have been stripped of any way of bringing out. There is an
Their
election.
only hope is in biology.
There's an election, they steal it. They can't do redress in
Demonstrate.
courts. Yeah?
Yeah.
They can't demonstrate. Their leaders are taken away. Their voices are not heard. Everything, you've taken away their land, you've taken away. And there is absolutely no way that these people can actually, have any semblance of justice. Or their voices being heard.
It's very funny that when things are not, I usually give this concept, and I think I've given it before on the podcast, that when you enter a room and it is very smelly, at first, at inception, you can feel the stench. But when you stay in for a longer time, there's a way you...
Yes. Actually,
and then you wait.
Actually, that's biology, because
Yes.
I think the biologists know it, the doctors. There's something that is supposed to taste smell
Yes.
inside I think they get used.
to eat.
That's why some people who have carbon mogeri don't actually feel it.
They do
For
not.
them,
They
it's
get
normal.
used to it.
They get used to it.
You will only realize when someone else
Yes,
walks in
yes,
a room. It's like, hey, what's
What?
smelling here? It's the same thing. A few months back when we were talking about the Tanzanian election, we were telling people how the two main opposition candidates had been in prison.
Yes.
And in Uganda, the main opposition candidate at the time, who was Chiza Besigye, has been in prison. Not charged, no hearing. The latest we have for the viewers is that the lawyers have now gone to the Constitutional Court to challenge the act that was passed by Parliament last year, after it had been declared null and void by the Supreme Court. You have the second, now the biggest figure in opposition, Bobi Wine, on the run. All the deputy presidents.
Either incarcerated.
Yes. And that can go on and on. We can explain the details of who is in prison, how many political prisoners are in Chitadia and Luzira. And that is the reality on this side. And we seem to make peace with it, but people are not making peace with these things.
Yes.
It's because they are powerless. It's like if someone ties your hands behind you and starts to slap you.
No, that's what I was telling you about the people who are defeated, because when they defeat Germany and its allies in the First World War, they are powerless. There's nothing they can do.
Yes.
And they are sitting them down to give them very unfair. Because you see, after the conclusion of the Second World War, in what they called the Nuremberg trials, this gentleman, I forget his name, was he called Gonberg something? He was, I think, the
Those
most...
were in Germany.
Yes. He was in those trials, and I think he was the most high ranking. Yeah. So when they are reading his charges in court, excuse me,
Sorry.
when they're reading him his charges in court, he actually tells them most of these things that you are
You guys
accusing
are
me
reading.
of, every one of us did them. This was war. Yeah. You say I bombed people, but you also bombed people. You say we did this, you also people did this.
It's just that you won, I lost.
Yeah,
but we
the
did
only
both.
difference actually in that was that this person was on the losing side, lost the war. But I mean, war by nature is, you know how barbaric war can be. Yeah, so the
rules of the
everyone
game
on
changed, yes.
every side was bombing things, was incarcerating, was killing POWs, was doing bad things. But the only difference in that courtroom was actually he was not there to get justice. He was just there to
wait for the verdict.
Yes, yeah, to be made as an example. Sure. Yeah, in the Nuremberg trials. So the people can, but because all those people that have been incarcerated, Harold, beaten, lost their lives. Yeah, in this election, being disenfranchised at different levels,
yes.
Have families, have children, have parents, have responsibilities, have things that they have going. All those people that you're doing those kinds of things to. Yeah? And their anger keeps boiling. And that's what I tell people. When I tell people, I tell them, we must bring this country to a place where this peace that it's said that the peace that we have is sustainable. That you can live in peace, our children can live in peace, our great-grandchildren can do what? When you disenfranchise people to this level, then on top of everything, humiliate them, strip them of their dignity, strip them of their living, like I was telling you about how people were chased from their leg and everything. Yeah. Now you hear Audrey is talking about coffee. You know, let me tell you.
Start.
Yeah, it is always such like that. Someone talks about coffee value addition, doesn't give you statistics, doesn't give you deep analysis. Says we can process our coffee here. It's $4. When we export it, it's going to be 400.
Making more money, yes.
And on top of that, you now gaslight them. There is no opposition. They were defeated. These are terrorists. I think that this would be the time to have a deep national introspection. Unfortunately,
just related to that,
yes,
which is our second topic. It's on. We've seen the reaction of the people, the opposition, and the ruling government every time you have some sort of dialogue from people belonging to the opposition, or at least subscribing to opposition parties, when they knock and go to plot 1 in Entebbe. This week and the past, we had a visit from the former member of parliament, I think is it Mawakota? I think? Yes, Mawakota North, Yusuf Nsibambi, who's been spitting fire ever since he left that visit in State House. Apparently, it was initially organized by the Intelligence Council, as we had said, and then we saw other opposition faces like Latif Sevagala, former MP and mayor, and other notable faces. And the say was, for them, there's no opposition in Uganda. They are disgruntled and are trying to build the nation. And Nicholas, the sadder bit is that most of the talk from the people who visited the State House, before I ask you, something I noted is that they were blaming the victim. Instead of blaming the government for maybe the political prisoners, they were now saying, what is, for example, NUP doing about abana abali mu makomera? Now you're asking a victim to do something about something that you can blame for the other. But these being the faces that should represent what we talked about in topic 1, national dialogue and reconciliation and solution, and trying to talk to the president, are they in a way legitimizing illegalities being committed by the state right now? Or it is more of a discussion of we need to transition to a unified Uganda? Neither.
Those are self-seekers, Harold. And I want to start from the point of, one, first of all, why is it criminal? Yeah,
to take a picture on the steps of State House.
It's because of the way the president treats opposition people. He does not see them as worthy opponents. He does not see them as people that have anything that they can add on the Ugandans. He calls them terrorists. He calls them bayaye. He calls them, in this missive, there was another word he was using, micheno. He calls them many things. Derogatory statements. Yeah. And people who follow the president, by the way, it is just the way he is. There's just an animosity that comes in the face of any opposition that he gets. Yeah. So if you're treating the people like that, it means that anyone who goes there, you're going to be seeing him from that place. Because so many interventions have come to, you remember iPod, remember so many. Then it comes to iPod, he wants to lecture everyone.
That is very true.
He wants to tell everyone.
We saw actually UPE today was UPC actually, Akena's press conference. He was talking about how iPod has been used for people who have been active members like UPC. How iPod was used to disenfranchise them by not releasing their money to do their campaign.
Yes. So when Nsibambi, and I used to respect Nsibambi because of his past history at the law school and a lot of good things that people used to say about him. I think he was your lecturer because of his exploits at law school. He was your lecturer, good man. But I think there's just a way politics, especially that involves elective politics, metamorphoses people into something that you cannot recognize. Because the same Nsibambi, you cannot blame the opposition. Yet you understand the full extent of the law.
And the terrain they operate in.
Even Olivia Lutaya and the new people, how long have they been incarcerated? Some people have spent 5 years without coming up to remand. I know we're going to talk about judiciary, but some people, they go missing. State elements pick them up. Not even that they go missing. There are videos of drones and military men picking them up. People file habeas corpus applications. They are dismissed that we
are not the ones holding
does not have these kinds of people. A few weeks later, they are produced in court. They are remanded for weeks. So Nsibambi should be able to know, who the victim in this whole thing is. But
because he was once there.
If you have Nsibambi, you have Latif Sebagara and the people that you went with. The question is, which opposition do they represent? Number one, whose voice? Nsibambi has been rejected in Mawakota. Latif was rejected here several times.
After put money, then he cut electricity poles.
I have a controversial view about that because maybe we'll talk about. Let's first finish this point, then we'll talk about it shortly. I think that first of all, they are not representing any opposition voice because voice is in mandate. What mandate? Whose mandate is Latif Sebagara carrying right now? Who sent him? Who follows him now? All due respect, because these are veteran politicians. Which mandate?
Nsibambi was just lost an election.
Who lost an election? And basically I talked about how he had already crossed camp before. So, and the people that they had is just a group of people who have just lost the elections. They're probably parading themselves.
Gave him a nickname actually even before he was in prison.
They're probably parading themselves for cabinet positions or for political appointments. They're just self-seeking, but there is no real value. And because I understand how the president thinks, to an extent, I know the way he sees them, because I don't think Museveni is blind. He knows people voted you out several times. Why should he respect you? He doesn't respect people they have voted for. Yes, and then you think
how
that
much more
you Latif, you came from rejected. MP, they rejected you, you went to mayor, they reject twice again. Then you think that he's there thinking that you're speaking.
You still have some relevance.
That you're speaking for a certain position. He knows what you want. And he's going to use you to say that this is my willingness to work with the opposition. So I've given him a spot. I've brought Mao on board. I've brought this one. He's just using you in the grand scheme of things, but he's not even listening to you. While you're speaking, the words are just passing because there is absolutely no value.
So Nicholas, let me ask you something.
Yes.
And what's your thought on what I will term as the Mao politics or the current DP politics, to say that we are in opposition? I think UPC tried it, but it backfired. But let's talk about, let me just try to describe the Mao politics right now. We are in opposition, but we've realized that the best way to channel our opposition and lead to what we want to get is by working with the government to prepare for the transition, which we've realized will not come in the setup of the democracy as we know it. So we are preparing and curing the leadership crisis by participating in this, in hope that we will be, whether by MOU or understanding, otherwise that is not on paper, that we will be part of the new government that is to come. In your understanding of the man Museveni and the possibilities of how the government post Museveni will look, is it politics pro-nation or politics self-seeking?
It's self-seeking. It's the latter. Why? Because you must understand, like I was saying before, what in the grand scheme of things, in the last election that Mao ran in, which should have been 2016,
It should be 2011.
I think. I don't know. I don't
2016
remember.
he ran?
He must have run in 16. What was the what was first of all, where is DP in the grand scheme of things?
I get you.
Yeah? DP used to predominantly be here in Uganda.
Uganda, yes.
Yeah? The history of DP started here in Uganda and was predominantly associated with Baganda. When NRA came, it wiped DP away from most of the places. Their strongholds remained here, where
and was known for elite politicians in Buganda.
Yeah, where it was the birth of most of these of Lukwago,
That's
of Segona,
Puga.
of Puga, most of Mengo ministers, whatever. Yeah, it was their birthplace, Mkoba Zambogo. With the coming of Noop, and wiping out of most of DP strongholds, most of Buganda, which was the DP stronghold. So in the grand scheme of things, DP is very insignificant. Yeah.
Right now.
So the place of Mao coming to say that we have put our differences aside, let's work with the government.
The differences are still there.
Comes out of a place of you have been subdued. You have actually given up. Comes out of a place of surrender. That you know what? We have realized we cannot beat this system. And if you can't beat them, what do you do?
I actually think that Mao personally, maybe where I don't agree with you is that I actually think that Mao used the establishment of DP to negotiate for personal interests.
Exactly.
Not the other way around, that this was the take of DP as a party of we are subdued.
DP as a party is Mao. Did you see their primary? Did we talk about their primary? DP as a party is Mao. Yeah? The same way actually you can make that same allusion for almost every party. M7 is NRM, Bobby Wine is in NUP, the UPC is definitely Akena. Yeah? They try to wrestle him out, but so UPC is Akena. These people, and maybe one day we will talk about how,
our party politics.
But these parties are basically, and FDC, people. When FDC was not, when Besigye walked out of the Najana Nkumbi FDC, what remained of the party is just, I think even it's people are also using it to...
Let me just share something personal.
Because
the case study of FDC, you see, on the grand scheme of things, Nicholas, the FDC transition from Besigye, the initial issue of Mugisha Muntu in FDC, phase 1, Mugisha Muntu in phase 2, the rise of Nandara Mafabi, and what's this other gentleman? Yes. Oh boy. It was the first time Ugandans were to experience a transition of party leadership through democracy and see how it works out. I think for me, if I'm writing about the sad events in Uganda's political history, the elections of FDC that brought in that reign of Nandara Mafabi and his colleague, where they exchanged presidency and stuff, and how they handled, and you remember Besigye's tears when he was talking about how many family members have been lost, how many people have given blood, for people who walked to his house with a bag of money from State House and said, we have picked this money for the party, from the president, who, according to Besigye's story, had caused these things that had caused tears to many Ugandans. So the test of passing leadership, even as small as in a party structure like FDC, and how it turned out, makes people think, even for the FDC sympathizers who would say we would have a better chance if we had remained with Besigye, who the same people actually, Nicholas, would be blaming for not handing over power.
No, but I think
when he's actually blaming the president for not handing over power.
Because FDC tried, was when Besigye left, I think, party presidency
changed twice.
Yes, Mugisha Muntu actually took over. But of course, as with, and this is healthy competition.
Sure.
In party competition, it's supposed to be healthy. For me, I have no problem with people who say Mugisha Muntu may not be a good candidate. Let's support Oboy.
Oboy, yeah.
That was a democratic process. And Mugisha Muntu was the president of the party.
Yes.
He was
actually,
the one
the first
in
time
charge
he lost, he actually stayed in the party and continued working as a chief mobilizer.
Yes.
Yes.
So when he won presidency, he was in charge of, his party president, so in charge of delegates.
Yeah, that's true.
He lost another election to Besigye on who should stand for president.
For president, I remember
And he stepped
that.
down and mobilized for him.
That's true.
Yeah, so that should be. You see,
That should
the
be
reason
how it
why
should be.
the reason why it seems foreign now is you imagining that someone can stand against him in the NRM. Someone was I saw something. These gentlemen were on the show on Capital Radio on Saturday.
The Capital Gang.
Yeah, Capital Gang, and he was saying this man who was meant to put on a cape by Anita Among. He was saying that there was one nomination form. They had made only one nomination form for Museveni.
You remember the
young man?
The young man. You see,
First day he was
the
chased
most
away.
mocking thing is they knew. Everyone knows by democracy that guy would not defeat Museveni. But why would you persecute him
but
even from the point of
I
nomination?
told you that this is performative. Everyone is trying to perform to be seen. And I saw the animosity with which this gentleman, a whole professor, was treating the young man. At least have some shame.
Yes.
And you see, that's where our society has moved. It has moved from places where there is a semblance of, let's give the gentleman a nomination.
Dress it.
He's not going to get 20 million. That I think nomination fee was about that. He's not going to get the money. He's not going to get the signatures.
Even if he does,
we can find a way. But say you have nominated another person, have a semblance.
At least pretend on internal democracy.
Yes, pretend, and then later but in front of the media, then you still animosity. You chase the guy away. You treat him like he's a criminal by just saying. But all this is performative because these people know the way Museveni thinks is that if they are seen,
they will be rewarded.
And we're going to talk about it recently when this gentleman who died, Geno Sande, Deus, this lady of NUP in Masaka says she was merely greeting him.
And then Namere
interpreted it as,
this is supporting.
Why are they shaking hands? So that's where our politics has reached now, Harold. That we cannot share ideas. And that's why I was telling you, and we'll talk about it in the last point of why people are celebrating people are dying. Because now there is no longer a difference in ideas, and we can sit here and talk about something with a difference of ideas. No. I can't be seen with the president. I can't be seen with you. You're a persecutor. I look at you as an animal. You're justifying killings. You're justifying abductions. If you don't justify them, they will kick you out. Because this gentleman, even after all that he has done, and he was in a video saying how they can't hand over power. And when they're speaking as if this is their power. Okay. How they can't hand over power, but the rumors has it that he died when he was under inquiry, and that was one of the things that perhaps
could have led to health complications.
That health complication to accelerate. That for all I have worked for this party, just shaking hands with being seen, because you were at the Tariq Center, you're definitely going to meet. You're definitely going to meet everyone, and when someone comes to greet you, now if this lady went to greet General Sande, what should he have done? Abandoned her,
ran away from
her, remained stuck like this so that she doesn't greet him. What is the problem with greeting someone across board? So what was happening in FDC, I think, was internal politics. And internal politics has intrigue. The intrigue is part of politics at all levels, even
international.
We're talking about
first world democracies.
Yes. So that is what, but the problem was that the people who were eventually, where I fault Besigye, is that he did not gauge, the spirit,
the maturity,
the spirit. And of course, Nandada, for me, is the one I'm most disappointed, because Nandada had been a very upstanding gentleman, that does not need anything from Museveni.
And was already rich.
Yes. Rich, educated, articulate,
very thorough,
and then with his people, he's like a semi-god in that area. Because I do there some trade, so I understand how those people love.
Even his performance in the elections and how he performed as a president.
So you wonder how they started to think
with Poa.
Yes, Poa is a shady character. He's the one that I don't understand his rise to, But that was the fall of that party, is that they trusted people that they should have vetted. Do they have the cajoles? To drive this party through this, because you see, opposition politics in Uganda, you must have iron balls. If you don't have balls like Theon Greyjoy, opposition in Uganda, politics in Uganda, you're going to be overwhelmed.
That's true.
You have to pass the tear gas, the frustrations, everything is at the mercy of the state, at the mercy. You remember when people were panicking that Bobi Wine may not be nominated?
Yeah, I remember.
When they were told that he didn't have signatures, but Robert Kasibante had signatures. So Mao and his party used the party to negotiate. But you see, Museveni is looking at you, because I'm going to give you an example. When he says that he's coming to check the party from inside and whatever. What Mao is minister of what?
Justice and Constitutional Affairs.
Thank you. How many people have been incarcerated for 5 years?
During his reign.
Even before his reign.
Okay.
That have not been released. That have not seen their day in court. That have not seen justice. Yeah? How many abrogations of justice have we seen under his reign? When have we seen him try to check the powers of, try to rein in, try to reason with sense?
At least get to the peak of these institutions and cause a political change.
What change do you think that Mao would bring? Mao cannot bring in, and he said, and with Mao, he's intelligent enough to have known what he was coming into. Sure. These are things that he used to say before he came in, how Museveni treats people who come to him. Yeah? He puts you down in a system that you find yourself now you're stuck.
And once you're vomited, your relevance is out.
So
you can neither
Mao
belong
is now
to the
stuck.
opposition or the government anymore.
Yeah? Mao is now stuck. He must be there and he must serve the interests, of the government. And he's negotiated. But some people got places in the IALA, some cabinet appointments, maybe some money to DP. I think that is all. There is nothing that you're going to negotiate with Museveni. You don't negotiate with Museveni from a place of weakness. The only way you can negotiate with Museveni is if you cause significant, if he anticipates very significant opposition that may tilt the scales of power. That's when he's...
a headache.
Yeah, give him a good headache. That's when he can sit down with you respectfully. But which I think that Ugandans are way far from coming to a place where Museveni can respect them.
This is the Checkmate 256. We would thank you for keeping it on this episode of week 7 of 2025. We encourage you to, if you're just watching us for the first time, to subscribe and also share the link for people that you think might be interested in, because our primary mission is to create an enlightened society, because an enlightened society is the right ingredient for the change that we want to see in Uganda, and also what we want our children to find. We will continue and go to our second last topic of the program today, and we are talking about Uganda's judiciary. It's we always want to debunk, and especially us who have a very good bias in constitutional history, that the judiciary is not the third arm of government. It's one of the three. It's not like the executive is bigger and then level 2 is legislature. And no, it's the third arm of government, and they have equal power, and they should perfectly embody checks and balances. But the third arm of government in Uganda, Nicholas, when we're discussing this, let me just give a picture of how things stand even before we discuss the political side and the challenges that we are facing in that direction. The judiciary, I think in the previous year, had planned to dispose of around 25,000 cases. And to justify that, they requested for 16.4 billion. Despite receiving all the funds, only 21,000 cases were disposed, leaving a variance of 3,824 cases not handled. So the other thing that we can talk about is, Nicholas, the case backlog. As we stand right now, there are cases that have been in courts of Uganda. Between 2 to 5 years, we have 33,351 cases. Cases that are in court or have been in court between 5 to 10 years are 11,036 cases. Cases that have been in court for over 10 years, Nicholas, 1,794. We have a total case backlog, and for the benefit of our viewers, a case to be defined as backlog is if it spends 2 or more years in court from the date of filing up to its conclusion. We have a total of 46,181 cases defined as backlog. That's one angle to look at it. The other thing that we can discuss about the judiciary and where, Nicholas, I wanted us to cast light. The last time we were talking about this, we were talking about the executive influence on the judiciary and how the independence of the judiciary was missing. And one of the things that we demystified on this show was that we were at a place, they are trying to serve you water. Please have some water. You need it. We were at a place, Nicholas, where the bench mostly had been nominated by the president. Of course, the Judicial Service Commission involved. We've seen the manner under which some have been nominated and who has been nominated. We told you about the sad reality of even some who threatened to stand in some positions and are lawyers with the qualifications have negotiated. And what was a point of qualification is now a tool of lobbying to join the bench. Nicholas, we talked about here how the current Chief Justice of Uganda, and I saw a very good article from from Dr. Kabumba, saying that the mere fact that on a public holiday at a president's private farm in Chisozi, that's when the Chief Justice of this arm of government that is supposed to be doing checks and balances was sworn in. It should tell the whole story. Previously, and I speak passionately on this because I am an officer of court, and some things are sad. We remember how many times the president, Nicholas, talked about how he personally hated bail. We remember how he repeated it. Yes, and he would speak about it with a passion. And years later, how that passion has bore fruits and how they have dealt with bail, especially in terms of political prisoners. Now, the first thing is that we no longer have, per se, the presumption of innocence, where when someone is arrested, it's as if they are already guilty, especially for political prisoners in that angle. We have had a mockery of the habeas corpus, Nicholas. We had a scenario, I think, when the two Kenyan activists were arrested, and the lawyers filed a habeas corpus. For the benefit of some of our viewers, habeas corpus is just a Latin word to say produce the body. It's one of the tools of justice where they say that when all the state agencies are denying to have arrested the person, court can give a verdict to the person in charge of the prisons of the country or any forces to bring that person to court and charge him formally. So that application that you hear of habeas corpus is to force the state or the state agencies to produce that person in court. Thus the phrase produce the body. So some of those applications, when such an application was filed for the two Kenyan activists, the government and the Attorney General came and said, we do not have this person.
It was filed to which judicial official?
We will talk about that bit of the judges that are dealing with those cases at civil division. No, I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that at the point of appointments. So that case was handled by Justice Simon Peter Chinobe. We'll get to that point and why we have common faces on that. And the reign of, for example, the head of division, Justice Musa Sekana, who is now at the Court of Appeal, and what he was known for at the time, what people are saying about Justice Chinobe and other judges that we will mention here or two, at least from the dailies and the articles that are being written in the newspapers. Nicholas, we can go on, and the case study that we are using, the Attorney General comes and says that we don't have that person. Later, the president is making an address and said that we were having these people in the refrigerator. The CDF comes and confirms it. We do not have a case of perjury pursued against the officer who comes and lies. And sometimes, by the way, they might not know because you have very many people with power and you don't know who has kidnapped who. We can talk about that. We can talk about the new way of adjournments as a way of punishment. You've charged someone. Our capacity for Luzia and Chitaria is, I think, is it 10 times the original capacity of the prison? Yes, according to the spokesperson of Uganda prisons. But someone has been charged with a case like money laundering. They come to court, you adjourn, send them on remand to come back a month later. When they come, the bail application is not fixed. It's like you're already punishing them. By the time they start hearing their case, they've spent 60 days or 80. How the judiciary has also dealt with mandatory bail. Nicholas and our viewers, If someone is charged with any criminal case that is tried in the magistrate's court, if they've been on remand for 60 days, they are supposed to get mandatory bail. If they are charged with a case in the High Court, if they've been on remand for 180 days, they are supposed to be given automatic bail. How that has been twisted for now, it's a sad story. I can go on and on. We recently had a case where people were complaining about a justice that we've just already talked about here, and how he ended up in Masaka for a case that everyone had been complaining about, how a magistrate had handled with a recount. And of course, we saw actually in the news that Justice Simon Peter Chinove refused to recuse himself on the point of bias that had been submitted by the lawyers of the NUP candidate to say that you have ever stood as an flag bearer for MP on the NRM flag ticket. This directly involves parties, and this is an election petition. Please recuse self. And he says, no, I will not recuse myself. I will give reasons later. This has been the state of the judiciary. This has been the state of lack of separation of powers. We can talk about the history of where the Black Mambas raided police. We talk about the history of Amin that picked the Chief Justice Chiwanuka from the chambers at the High Court. It's like we are again on this roller coaster and a vicious cycle, and we are getting to the same things. For the benefit of the viewers, and also having given this background, what do you read from the state of the judiciary in Uganda, especially at the stage the country is in right now?
Thank you, Harold. You've given quite a good background that simplifies my work, because that's basically the state. But you see, the state of Uganda's judiciary cannot be discussed in isolation. That is the state of all arms of government, and consequently, that is the state of our democracy. Yeah? When you see what is happening in parliament, when you see what is happening in the executive, when you see what is happening in government departments, ministries, you know, when you see what is happening in the army, the judiciary would not have remained the one standing, because you see, to be able to consolidate power, and that is where, for me, I think every problem comes from a place where
the primary goal
the primary goal is to consolidate power. So how do you consolidate power in a democracy, in our kind of
dictatorship?
In our kind of democracy, is that you must take over the legislature, you must take over the judiciary. Yeah. So the judiciary is sick.
We will talk about the bribery in the judiciary, and
is sick
on a different day
from the fact that it must be used as a tool to consolidate power. That is where every problem stems. That's where problems of cadre judges stems. That's where problems of everything they are doing.
State
intervention. The misrule. You've seen, you know, you've talked about habeas corpus. You've talked about bail being fought. You've talked about people being incarcerated for long, people being remanded for days as a punishment. When most of these people that this is happening to fall in two categories. One, people that the government has declared that they are enemies, or they support someone different.
For state agencies, foreigners.
Yes.
That's a new tag that we have in Uganda.
Or number two, because now we have so many power centers. Yeah? You can annoy the speaker and there is a case. You can annoy the CDF and there is a case. You can annoy even some people who are just loose people. You can annoy them, and that is, you know. So the judiciary has become infused with cadreism, with Musevenism, with Yeroism. Yeah? And so it has lost the independence, the professionalism, and consequently, of course, the rule of law. For me, that is why I say that is a problem with the judiciary. As is, you can make the same case.
Because that affects the simple division of the High Court, the Constitutional Court, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. And wherever there's a case of a political nature where the state might have interest, the notion has been that it's been very hard. And you see, just get justice.
And you see, it's just not. It does not, because you see, when something starts to rot, yeah, the whole entire, it's like a cancer. A cancer can start from a small thing before a whole body is infested. Yeah, when it can start, the independence of the judiciary can start being raped from a place of, let's protect political interests, of a certain group of a government. But understand that the corruption you have sowed in the hearts of these cadre judges does not stop there. It goes down into land. It goes down into theft. People being I was seeing on Spires X, and people were,
there's a judicial exhibition
happening, and people are saying how some magistrates are getting bribes to give bail, to chase cases, to continue to postpone them indefinitely, to disappear, to liaise with the other officers of the law, to disappear evidence. So a Ugandan, and this is what we do in the Checkmate, is to give perspective. For you might see what is happening in Masaka and say, how does that affect me? How does a magistrate coming and saying, I know what the law says about a recount, when ballot boxes have been tampered with,
we cannot proceed.
We shall proceed. You say tebinkwata kwe bya namere bya bana Masaka. After Chinobe is invited, of all the justices, you're gaslighting me. He's brought, and people present and say, no, you recuse yourself because you have bias. This is a matter, that has
the biases of history are apparent.
Yes, and the very says I will not. So for you may see that you may see that Chechinkwatako Chava Masaka Chachi. But these seeds that are being sowed into those officers, into these people, and now there are these brokers and power wielders at different levels. They are stealing land in mass from people because the courts will defend them. They are
connected already, so
some of them even there was a story that was carried, I think, by the Daily Monitor about a week or two ago, I think a week ago, about how guns used in a robbery were discovered that they belonged to
certain was it a police station?
It was a police station or an arm of certain officer.
Interesting.
So that's how the rot in society starts and continues to go down, because now these people know that you cannot even now that safeguard of saying that if you steal my land, if you beat someone, if you scorn something, that safeguard is also removed, that a court is effective. They no, I'll just file my case to Chinobe or whoever, and then we all know what the outcome is going to be. So and then the Chief Justice comes and says, in his, I think, was it opening, whatever, he comes and says that he's going to protect the justices. He's going to protect his judges against social media. And he indeed demonstrates that by arresting this gentleman, the one of rule of law.
Yes, Mabirizi. By the way, I should tell Ugandans and Nicholas that according to the story that was done by, I think, the New Vision, and a briefing that was done in one of the functions that the ICT minister spoke on, that there's a plan to limit the usage of social media in Uganda. And the government's plan that has been submitted already, and a policy is being cooked right now, is to limit social media to only business, self-improvement, health, and etc. So if you hear it later, it's not making main news and TV.
We can't talk about politics on social media.
There will be direct censure, as we see in some nations, on the usage of X, primarily Facebook and TikTok. Primarily, it's something that is being cooked by government through technology and law, because they want to supplement the position of the law, what we already have as a Computer Misuse Act.
Of Made in Sereko.
Yes, but now to farm it up with technology that censures, and if you post, they can either block that post or you cannot post because they say it's against the local laws.
I hope Honorable Sereko, whatever he is proud of what he did to Ugandans. And that will forever be his legacy. But you see, Harold, and that is a place which we were talking about in the first time when we talked about the dialogue. You see, that's a society you're coercing. You're even reaching a level where you must dictate what they talk about and what they should not. These are telltale signs, that we have come to a place where this freedom and unity and peace. You know,
As
we are walking on eggshells. I will tell you that there is a policy that people are not going to be free to say what they want to say,
but
when they want to say it.
I thought when you talked about the social media usage, I remembered, and some of the stories that will not very far off make headlines in Uganda.
So for me, that is my diagnosis of the judiciary, is that in the attempt, to consolidate power, the Musevenism entered the judiciary, and the state that it is in is because nobody gets punished, nobody gets the case backlog, for example, for instance,
which is actually nothing to do with the politics. And
yes, exactly. But you see, directly it may not be something to do with the politics, but because there are no targets, nobody gets a roll, no head gets to roll because of this kind of thing. Everyone is trying. No accountability, nothing. Everything is lax because your biggest mandate was to deliver a victory, was to deliver a judgment in the election petition. Yeah, and you have done that job. The judgment has been sealed. This has been legitimized. Who cares about the people? No one cares if someone has been in prison on remand for 10 years.
We wait to see what will come out of the soon-to-be filed election petition. The case study that we're giving you in Masaka, where, of course, a judge from the civil division was transferred to Masaka for the benefit of handling that. And by the way, we should put it on record that is normal. During election petitions, they redeploy judges to different stations to dispense justice in a fast manner concerning how sensitive election petitions and how time-bound they are. So that in itself is not abnormal, but it happens wherever there are election petitions. But the case that we are studying and that case point relates to how the lawyers reacted, Nicholas, to the verdict, saying that they were going to withdraw the whole application for review and then file the petition. But it's frustration for the opposition that maybe believe that they might know how that revision will end, and they don't want to legitimize the process. But they cannot run away from the reality, because even the petition has to be filed in court, and you have to go before a judicial officer that you know not yet. It's frustration, and the biggest fear for a captured judiciary, I hope we are not yet there, is that the judiciary and courts are what we call primary end user sectors. It's like a hospital. Not like the parliament where your MP speaks and then by the time you feel the pinch, maybe. But here, if you have a court case, or if your MP is the one in court, or if your land is going to be taken, you are an end user and you're direct. So you don't want to have a sector like that, part of a discussion and unsure. And the old justice maxim is that justice must be done and also seen to be done. We hope that the people in power will do something about that to ensure that that is corrected. But Nicholas, we also have to speak about the other thing that is affecting Ugandans, and that is our labor export policy. As our I think third or fourth topic, want to go. And Nicholas, we have had many families in tears. Many families in tears. We have many companies. We have a ministry that is in charge of labor export. I know of a gentleman that tried to prepare a product for insurance for these people that travel out of nation in case they die or get sick, or what the families should get in case something happens to that. But it was politicized and it never saw the light of day. We know many Ugandans that have died in foreign countries for labor export. The president, and I agree with him, though he would be treating the fruit, not the root cause. He says it pisses him off that people go to do what he has termed as slavery. People who leave the country to go to the Gulf, mainly in UAE, in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, have said that things were hot here and they were just trying to look for survival. You can go there and earn maybe 1 million or 2 million. The funny bit, which has nothing to do with Ugandans, I would say this as I look into the camera, is that you, their relatives, they send you some money to buy land, you eat it. That has nothing to do with the government, but it's also one of the common stories of some of the cases that are in court. But that has gone on and on. We had a story where a Ugandan was trafficking people in prostitution and the like. Of course, he had a different party's passport, but we knew his origin. Some of the victims were Ugandans. Nicholas, the CNN ran a story about Ugandans and Kenyans who were taken as mercenaries to go and fight in the Russia-Ukraine war. And there are stories of how they were taken, thinking that they were seeking greener pastures in electricals and the like, until they were put on the front line and they are being segregated according to the stories that came in. We saw a video where they were even singing Ugandan revolutionary songs in Ukraine at the war front. We've had stories of 500 Ugandans that are stuck in Cambodia as we speak right now. And the government has put on a program to rescue them. How they ended up in Cambodia, of all countries, Nicholas, Cambodia. As in Cambodia. How they ended up there is that they were looking for greener pastures, of course. And they were left on the streets and they were working for gangs. And when the gangs were taken over by the flushed out by government, they were left on the streets. They have fines to pay. Most are in prison. And the government has to go and rescue over 500 Ugandans. How did they leave the country? How is there a policy so weak that no one is punished? What does these very sad stories tell about the status quo back at home?
Thank you, Harold. I want to diagnose that point in excuse me, in three ways. One, desperation. Two, weak legislation. And number three, personal responsibility. So in case I forget, you can remind me.
Please.
One,
desperation is your number one.
The president is a little bit... I am a little bit opinion ad idem with the president in saying that labor export should have no place in the life of Ugandans. Yeah, nobody should go to work, abroad to earn $1 million or $2, 1.5, and the conditions that they work, and he says the other place is a desert, is what. But you must understand that
why they are.
Yes, because in immigration is what we used to call the push factors. There were usually the pull factors and the push factors. And the push factors used to be, if you check the Ngoni migration, Bantu, everything, you're going to find that population explosion, people who are cattle keepers had no space for their cattle, so they decided to depart and go. Wars, diseases, and everything. So you must understand, before you say, yes, we understand how indignifying their work might be, and the conditions of their work, and sometimes they come back in body bags and everything, but ask yourself, what are the push factors? Why are they pushed to have to go? Why does someone leave Bukoma Nsimbi, leave Bushenyi, leave Acholi, leave Itesot, and say, let me sell land, let me borrow 5-7 million, come and pay a labor export company and go to work in Saudi Arabia.
I'm seeing the statistics here right now. The regional context, between 2006 and October 2023, around 270,000 Ugandan workers migrated to the Arab states.
Yes, I mean, go to Entebbe, on any given day, you're going to see young girls in hijabs, going on to fly Emirates. So the push factors, what are the push factors? One, absolutely no jobs in this country.
Yeah, true.
These people grow up and there's absolutely no jobs. They have no space anywhere. Some of them are even graduates that decided to go because they have been on the streets. They have been trying to scout for what to eat, and a prospect of $1 million or $2 at the end of, irrespective of the work and indignity that comes with it, and loneliness and alienation and everything, is better than just starving, going back home. Then there's shame. Then some of them have been chased away. The husbands beat them. So you must first of all deal with the push factors.
I get you.
High rates of unemployment. Yeah. Last week there's a story we missed, which also happened. Which also happened this week. Yeah. The crime in the city.
Yes, we just tackled a little bit of it.
Yes.
And this week it led to strangling and death of the dean of students.
The dean of students of
the biggest universities in Uganda.
People are reporting that in Nadia here at the bypass.
Yes.
You don't if the lights flood red, just continue.
Yeah, just continue. If you stop.
The advisory is that red lights, just continue, because can you imagine? And so many places, every day you see on X, someone is saying,
They've clobbered
me. A friend. Someone jumped into our compound. The dog chased him. Someone did this. The crime in the city now. Yeah. But all this comes out of one.
Killings in hotels are on a rise too in Uganda now. Yes.
in hotels, in Airbnbs, in whatever. Yeah. So number one, let's deal with the push factors. Employment. How have you tackled this? Government comes up with good policies, Harold. But the problem with our government these days is that everything must be politicized. There is a good policy that this skilling, the thing that Aren Kajina is running, I don't know how they call it.
The
Vocational Institute. That thing is a very, very beautiful idea. If it could be brought into the ghettos, even incorporated into the mainstream, because you see, the mindset now is that going into a vocation is a person who has failed the conventional route. Yes.
Now goes for vocation.
So find a way of integrating the time we take studying the history in O level, whatever. Find a way of integrating. Yeah, back in the day, I think we used to do woodwork. Art was mostly theoretical. Yeah,
woodwork, TD.
Yes. And then some people would do some girls' schools would do food and what?
Yeah, food and nutrition.
Something to
home
do
management.
Home management.
Yes.
Yeah. But these are skills that later can actually give someone a job. People learned baking. There are so many people who bake because in high school they were made to bake a cake until they found a passion. So how can we integrate that system, for example? Yeah. And actually, someone on our show last time said they would appreciate it if we gave solutions to things that we're talking about. So the solution would be, let's provide opportunities. Yeah? Because let me tell you, I actually realized until I got into the heat of the matter that furniture is actually expensive.
Yeah.
Harold, have you tried welding? Have you tried welding, buying a door?
Yes. I know what it means.
Bricks. Let's say you're building just a small thing, like maybe you have a farm, you're just building a toilet for the workers. Or a small structure.
And the good welders and metal fabricators will have orders and will delay your order. So if there were very many good people like that, everyone would have what to do.
So I have friends who make me suits in Chiembe.
Yes.
Some of them don't even go there. They're like brokers.
They're brokers.
Give them money. They go to Chiembe and make. But the people in Chiembe actually, I've tried making a suit from December. More is functions and whatever, and they are just bringing them now because of the backlog that these people had during Christmas. So opportunities. Our country is not short of opportunities if we are able, to systemize. But every time they say there's a government intervention in the ghetto, it is more to neutralize Bobby Wine,
policy
than a policy that is going to
supposed to help the ghetto youth.
Take this ghetto youth, and that's why there's crime rate right now. These people they were empowering, they were using to steal elections for Minsaka and Uhuru was, they are the ones now getting. Now the election hearing has ended. Those ghetto structures have been abandoned.
They've been used.
The other day I saw this lady, and now she's I think she's now the head of the theatric shows of NRM, the one of what is it called, patriotism. She was in Aryan with Aryan skin that they are studying ghetto. You're with a thug, yeah. You're with someone who
proper system.
Yes,
you should be behind bars.
He'd been behind the bars. There was a death that was in his compound, which he actually, I think, even ran out of the country for. Yeah, but the only reason why he has a place in society is because he can neutralize some people. He can command some people
from the opposition.
Away from so when now politics and electioneering has gone behind us, we must introduce laws and policies that actually take the population forward.
Well, I say I declare our director giving us a bad eye. You'll have to summarize the other two of the personal and legislation. You talked about a little bit of the legislation. Talk about personal responsibility.
Legislation is that we lack strong laws
and policies
in labor export, like you're saying. But why do we do that? I remember telling you when the NRM and NUP and other political parties had outed their manifestos.
Yes.
That I could tell you everything in the NRM manifesto is true, is right, but I could also give you a reason why it can't be implemented. So with labor export, the biggest problem with that sector is that most of the people who own export farms, one, first family, military security,
retired
soldiers and even acting and security people, police, and these are the people that benefit, from the lawlessness. They benefit from the lawlessness of the sector.
Yes. From
Having
a
no
non-strict
yes,
sector.
having no laws, they see every legislation, every law, everything that would bring the sector under control as it's going to strip
Limitation
us.
to their business.
Because I mean, some of you know very even senior people in the president's camp, family who own labor export farms. Yeah, so these are not people who, you're going to introduce a legislation that strips them of their profits,
Where
and they
would it
allow it
pass?
when they control parliament, when they control all levels of that kind of policy implementation.
Some people have said that's why we still have taxis in Kampala, because of who owns most of them.
Yes, actually many things, that you cannot get into because someone controls them and they are profiting from the inefficiencies of the
I
system.
get you.
So that's why the laws are fading. Otherwise, there's no reason why we have bilateral relations with this country and we cannot negotiate. Filipinos, there are countries that actually negotiate with these of Saudi Arabia, Dubai, about their people, their dignity, what they should do, and they actually achieve it. Why are we different? Finally, personal responsibility. The minister came out and said, that Cambodia, Asia,
Why?
we have no bilateral relations with them. Don't go there. They are scams. These people don't even go to Cambodia directly. They pass through China, they pass through wherever. They lie to them. Even in those countries, the minister said, unemployment is also one of their big. Why would they be looking for you when they have unemployed? Why, like somebody importing labor into Uganda?
Yes, I get you.
You already have unemployed people, and then they lower you. But it comes
We
from
had
the
a minister who was threatening the medical interns when they were struggling that they could bring Cuban
that they
doctors.
could bring Cuban doctors.
Maybe on that scenario.
So why would they be wanting you to come and then others in the war of Russia and Ukraine? So I think that this goes back to personal responsibility. I understand that the desperation is a lot, but this is your life. Ask yourself, a job in Cambodia, a job in Malaysia, a job in China.
I get you.
Yeah, a job
I was seeing the list of the countries that dominate. Saudi Arabia has most. Then United Arab Emirates, Iraq, Taiwan, Syria, South Sudan, Somalia, Qatar, Kuwait, Jordan, Bahrain, and Afghanistan. There are Ugandans in those countries.
So that point of personal responsibility should also, as a person, before you go in a place, understand that. Does the government have in case of anything happens to me, do we even have an embassy in the country or in the region that I could run to? So that one, the country has nothing to do if you decide that today I'm going to work in North Korea. I don't think that one the government has any, and then you go to China and then you go to so I don't think that
500, actually 700 people are very many people.
Yes, and there are people, interestingly, who even came, and there was actually a gentleman who was narrating the thing on TikTok, how they were captured, things they were meant to do. How they eventually decided. I think there was a lady called Betty Bigombe, if you remember.
Yes, I remember Betty Bigombe.
I think she's a Ugandan diplomat now, close to those countries. She's the one who actually really pushed through for those boys to be released.
I get you.
As they are being released, the guy is telling his story. You find 500 people have already gone. So you must take some kind of responsibility.
We have to switch to the last story. It's actually sad, but let's switch to our last story. And this I will dictate that you discuss in maybe 2 or 3 minutes. The tale of mourning life and celebrating death in Uganda. The case study of General Deus Sandi. We talked about it when we were discussing the topics above, where because of the disparity, it's now a common thing that when a notable figure who has been serving or has ever served in Uganda passes on, you have some voices on social media celebrating their death. We saw it this week when Major General Sande, who died on his way to Kampala to actually attend a funeral service of a colleague who had also passed on in the course of a week, a senior high-ranking military official, passed on, and people were posting clips where him as a serving officer was openly campaigning for the NRM and saying that opposition are terrorists and stuff like that. And people were celebrating that justice had been served. We saw that when the security minister at the time, the late General Eddie Tumine, passed on. The shootings, the silent voices of the people who have gotten into accidents, notable people who have lost their sons. It goes on and on. And the ICT minister came to talk about it and said it's very un-African to mourn death because death comes for all of us. I know it's a sign of desperation and also for people who feel that they are not empowered. But this tells something about a society. What is that?
I think, Harold, to understand that point, we must understand, and you've given me a minute or two, we must understand why people come to that place. Because honestly speaking, it is despicable. It's not even something you must teach someone, that you don't celebrate death,
Sure.
you know. But historically, death of enemies are celebrated. That is not new, you know. The whole of Europe would not settle when Napoleon is at Elba. That's why when he comes from Elba, goes back to France in 100, takes over a government immediately. Everyone has, you know, everyone is disturbed on continental Europe because, you know, Napoleon is going to bring back the wars. So they take him to Helena. Yeah, when they defeat him at Waterloo and take him to Helena in 1821, I think he dies. You know, and historians. Some say food, some say stomach, whatever. But historians,
slow poison.
Yes, you think that he was actually poisoned because these people can't sleep. Yeah, they can't sleep. Yeah, because they know Napoleon is going to come back. He's constantly haunting them. I can tell you about Pol Pot. I can tell you about Hitler when he died in the bunker. I could tell you about Saddam Hussein when he was killed. I could tell you about Libya. Yeah, about Gaddafi. I could tell you even
Che
here.
Guevara,
Yeah,
yes.
Che Guevara. People, anti-communists were celebrating his death all over the world because he was one of the strongest spreaders of, you know, what they call the cancer. I could tell you about even here.
Fidel Castro. Why are we even going for
Fidel
it?
Castro died in old age.
He died old age, but even before he died, there were people who couldn't wait for his passing because of his communist ideas that were spreading all through in different countries.
I could tell you about here in this country. I could tell you about David Oyedepo joke in December of 83. Yeah, and how his death actually was a cause of celebration of in the bush in Ruero. So what am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that, unfortunately,
What basically says that if he hadn't died, if there was no plane crash, there was a possibility of extension of war or an unsuccessful revolution.
I said it here. I said that by that time, the NRA had been effectively defeated in Ruero. Actually, they were pushing back. They were pushing back. That was why. When we go into history.
Anyway, let's proceed and conclude. Yes.
That is how Rwigema ended up in the when they opened up a second front in Kasese, that side, and Rwigema was commanding it. They took all the disabled, all the injured, women, people could not fight. But we shall not go into that. I mean, history interests me, intrigues me. So, but the battleground, unfortunately, in this country, Harold, have been drawn. We cannot sit and discuss. Yes, the politics has become so toxic. Yeah, and at all levels. You see what is happening in Masaka. Yeah, now, like, we cannot now sit and agree to disagree because we belong to different parties. Yeah, one is an oppressor because by the time we sit down, one from maybe the red camp in NUP has a relative who is missing, has someone who was shot. Yeah, has someone who is in prison.
Who disappeared.
Has someone who disappeared. Has supporters who were shot like Mwanga Chivumbi. Then you have these officials of government, and I will also explain their position, who must justify that. They must justify the death. You have judicial officers.
Responsibility.
You have judicial officers who must stamp and say no bail. A message is in prison for years. You have police of enthusiastic who must arrest and maim and you know. So we have created a very toxic society. And because most of the people have no place of expression, their own expression is let's wait for karma.
Yes.
Yeah. Eventually. So that's what explains this kind of very toxic place.
Our director is giving us a bad eye. We have to close it at that. We just want to tell Ugandans that by the time you watch this, the UCE results will have been released. We had that on Friday at State House Nakasero. Yes, they find the minister at her home, not the other way around. Dedit Sekabira, the priest, is out on bail, and the Ministry of Health launched a mandatory sickle cell test at birth, which is a very good thing, considering that Uganda, I think, is in the first 3 countries with a higher sickle cell prevalence in the world. That's a very good thing. The NERA has concluded the 8-month-long renewal and clarification of names and IDs in Uganda. And on their target of 15 million, I think they were able to reach 14.3. And maybe if you haven't received your text, there's a challenge on, as they confessed, on their feedback on when the IDs are printed and you are supposed to go and get it. I've realized that there's a span of, I think, 10 years for the expiry, so you'll have some time with it. From wherever you are watching us, and for all the time that you've been with us, I want to first of all thank you for tuning in. I can't tire to tell you to subscribe, and also always wait for our next episode as we break these stories and more. I also want to thank Nicholas who made the time. I know you're not feeling very fine and perfect, but for saving the energy. Also the people in the background, our producer and the setup team, thank you very much for the effort and what you bring. It's a very wonderful team, very patient with us. Today they even served you water. Yeah, sure. But thank you for making the time, and everyone that brings and lays a brick. Comment. There's actually someone who sent us a comment, I think in one of the episodes when we were talking about how the opposition had put up how to defend the vote. Instead of saying power 10, we said Mayumba Kumi. I saw a correction on our pages. Keep those corrections coming. If you have a question, if you have a comment, do not tire to bring it up. We thank you very much that you are watching, because you are the reason we look forward to the next shoot. So from me and the team, until the next episode next week, shalom, shalom.